Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Well. Yes, Matt Reeves has been given a first look deal at Warner Brothers Discovery. That's the first thing. Secondly, he and Madeline Thompson, his co-writer, are busy, hard at work with developing the brand new The Batman sequel, the Batman 2 script. And they're hard at work on the Penguin series and the Arkham series. The Matt Reeves DC Cinematic Universe is a go. Now, timing is everything, of course. Now, a day before, or a day or two before, whenever you see this video and I manage to upload it for you, the shit hit the fans on social media because lots of kind of invalid reports were saying that Matt Reeves, Bruce Timm and J.J. Abrams' Batman, the animated series, was cancelled by HBO Max. No. David Zaslav has decided to sell it to another streamer to make more money, right? Because that's what it's all about. This is one of the best business managers in the business. So it's a pretty good idea. So that animated series is going absolutely nowhere. He has cancelled quite a few animated series as well. I think maybe he may try and sell them off as well. And people are worried that he's going to sell the Cartoon Network. I mean, if he's not making enough money, maybe they should instead of messing around with the network, because I watch Cartoon Network every day. Anyway, let's stick to the matter at hand. So, of course, they've come out with this big news that the Batman 2 is a go and the Batman spin-offs are a go and Matt Reeves has a first look deal. Of course, it's been released now because the shit hit the fans because people thought the Batman animated series was canned, but it hasn't. So shall we get the details? The Batman director Matt Reeves sets multi-year Warner Brothers film deal re-ups with WB-TV. The Batman director Matt Reeves sets multi-year first-look film deal at Warner Brothers and re-ups with Warner Brothers Television. This is by Mike Fleming Jr. of Deadline. Exclusive. Warner Brothers is going all in on the Batman director Matt Reeves and his 6th and Idaho production company. He has become the first filmmaker given an overall first-look film deal since Warner Brothers Pictures Group co-chair CEOs Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abbe were hired by Warner Brothers Discovery. Chief David Zaslav to steer the film division. In addition, Reeves has re-upped with the Warner Brothers Television Group and Chairman Channing Dungey, where he is also working on the Batman spin-off series, The Penguin, with Colin Farrell. So that's a go. Reeves and the 6th and Idaho had a first-look film deal at Netflix. Reeves is spending so much time on film and TV projects relating to the Batman franchise that it made perfect sense for him to call Warner Brothers home. With the multi-year first look, DeLuca and Abbe hope to see him grow into the kind of cornerstone filmmaker that Todd Phillips has been with the Hangover and Joker franchises. Now, mentioning Todd Phillips there because David Zaslav really likes Todd Phillips. And what Clint Eastwood has been forever at the studio. Making this legendary studio my home is a dream, said Reeves in a statement. I am so excited to be working with Mike, Pam and Channing and our teams to bring captivating stories. I am truly passionate about to the big and small screen. Under the terms of the film deal, Warner Brothers Pictures Group's production divisions, Warner Brothers Pictures, New Line Cinema, Warner Animation Group, and DC-based films will have first-look rights to Reeves' work as a writer, director, and or producer. Reeves is currently back at work on the sequel. So let's be clear about this. He's back at work on the Batman sequel. Don't listen to any rumors, any innuendos. This is Deadline. This is official. The Batman 2 is happening. We weren't sure after a very clumsy article a couple of weeks ago by Variety talking about all things DC and its future, saying it hadn't been greenlit yet. It has. It's happening. End of story. and is currently back at work on the sequel, co-writing with Mattson Tomlin the second installment of a DC, what's that say? Resurrection. I'm not going to read that word. So, the second installment, and that drew strong reviews and a global gross north of $770 million globally. Robert Pattinson is back for the sequel as the title character. As part of the new deal, Reeves has begun a search to find a senior level executive to run the new film deal for 6th and Idaho. Dylan Clark, who has been Reeves' producing partner on the Planet of the Apes trilogy and the Batman, is also back for the sequel, but runs his own production label. Reeves won't take office space on the lot, but rather will stay in 6th and Idaho current headquarters. Pam and I, so this is Pam Adby and Michael DeLuca, the co-chairs of Warner Brothers Pictures, giving their reaction to this first look deal for Matt Reeves. Pam and I are gratefully inherited the relationship with Matt from the Batman, and through the beginning stages of planning the Penguin series for HBO Max, DeLuca told Deadline, "We were excited to nail down his overall deal because it's a cornerstone of what we want to do with the filmmakers that are working at the studio. We want to create an atmosphere where all of these filmmakers can excel and do their work and stay with us once they are inside the Warner's family. Keeping Matt and creating a home for him to do more projects in the Batman universe, but also originals, was very important to us." So, let's reiterate this. Keeping Matt and creating a home for him to do more projects in the Batman universe, but also originals, was very important to us. So, they're very much interested in him, continuing his DC cinematic universe. So that's exciting. The 6th and Idaho re-up with Warner Brothers Television Group comes as production start looms for the Penguin, with Colin Farrell reprising his Oswald Cobblepot role for HBO Max. There is also a Batman Arkham series in discussion. Daniel Pipsky continues to run the 6th and Idaho TV business, with longtime executive Rafi Crone working across both film and TV. Matt is one of the most imaginative and creative minds in the business, said Channing Dungey-Chen, Warner Brothers Television Group. "We look forward to continuing our partnership with the wonderful 6th and Idaho team and expanding the world Matt so artfully created with the Batman film through our upcoming series, The Penguin." Signing Reeves, who works on the large canvas that studios want, is a win. Notification for the film regime, which got off to a provocative start with the scrapping of the HBO Max films Batgirl and the animated Scoob. While the acting of those finished moves were handled a bit roughly, I think they're trying to say, while the acting of those finished movies, not moves, were handled a bit roughly, they have been conflated in a snarky press, reports to WB. Plans to make the Barry Levinson directed mob movie Wise Guys, and De Niro's involved in that, which is exciting. Insiders at the studio tell me that in nixing Batgirl, the film group halted an expensive TV film that didn't fit the new strategy that calls for high-end theatrical fare that then finds its place on HBO Max after a short PVOD window. Taking advantage of a one-time write-off maneuver allowed the motion picture group to lessen whatever layoffs it will have to make. That number that won't be as high as sister division HBO Max because Discovery had no film arm and there is no duplicative manpower to be trimmed. DeLuca and Adby are culling through development projects that don't fit the new mandate and were geared to feed HBO Max and chip away at the cost trimming requirements laid on them by Zaslav. So, basically, there's a lot of stuff that's been green-lit, movies for HBO Max that are being cut, because they're mainly interested in high art TV shows for the streaming service and movies for the theatrical system. I agree with this idea. I don't want HBO Max to make loads and loads of movies, especially DC movies. We want to go to the movie theatres. We want to support the movie theatres because movie theatres are struggling. I think, is it Regal that's really struggling right now? Have they closed down? I think they have, which is really sad. This has nothing to do with Wise Guys being on the first slate of pictures. Here is why DeLuca and Adby embraced the film they could have turned down. It has a $45 million budget. It will be the last mob movie made by Robert De Niro at the studio that historically hatched a gangster film genre. It is scripted by Pileggi basically, I don't think we need to read the rest of this, but Warner's always had a tradition of being a home base of filmmakers, Clint Eastwood being prominent among them. DeLuca said, we want to continue that tradition, especially with people we've had success with. We want to create an atmosphere where we get repeat business with these filmmakers. We feel any studio built on that basis of having a roster of filmmakers working at the studio over and over again is a good business strategy. Of course it is, said Adley. We see it as just essential for the health of the studio to be a vibrant place for writer-directors and for signature filmmakers to do multiple movies with us. They said the studio will empower Reeves to become a cornerstone filmmaker there. Someone like Matt will buy for him whatever he wants to do, DeLuca said. We're making an investment for whatever Matt feels a pull toward, in the Batman universe and otherwise. He has an open invitation to go wherever his interests take him. We'll lean into whatever Matt wants to do in terms of the writer-directors out there working in this very elevated genre space. With everything Matt's done, from Let Me In to the Apes trilogy to the Batman, he's in a class by himself. Reeves' deal was done, blah, blah, blah. We don't care about that. So basically, what all this means is Matt Reeves' DC Cinematic Universe and HBO Max streaming universe, his Batman the franchise, is a go. As I said earlier, you know, there was lots of misunderstandings, and I was confused as well. I didn't know if the Batman was going to happen, but now we have clarity. So whatever any hater says to you, if you're the Batman stan, and I know there's a lot of you, and there's a lot of you following my channel, and you're welcome here, as all DC fans and movie fans, and even Manchester United fans are welcome to do so. But the point is, the Batman sequel is happening, the Penguin is definitely happening, and the Arkham series is in discussions. I think they'll wait and see to see how the Penguin hits. I'm sure it will be like typical HBO quality. Matt Reeves is a very, very good storyteller. I enjoyed the Batman. It's not one of my bestest Batman films, but I enjoyed it and I liked what he did with it. And there's going to be more, whether you like it or not. And this still changes everything, because it shows not what Adby and DeLuca like, but what Zaslav likes. Because without Zaslav, you know, being interested in Matt Reeves and continuing the Batman universe, this first look deal for Matt would never be happening. So this is huge. We know he likes Todd Phillips, who did the Joker movie. He loved the Joker movie. The Joker 2 is happening. That's very exciting as well. And apparently, most of that is set in Arkham Asylum. What is there not to like about that? So that's exciting too. So you've either seen a video or it's still uploading. Before you see this video, I can assure you of that. So you've probably seen that video already. It's confusing anyway. You've seen it now. So I didn't know this information there, so there's a couple of things I say that don't tally to what we know now. But on that video, I was talking about the Snyderverse and talking about if it will be restored. And I was talking about, at this moment in time, all we know is that Zaslav, for the time being, is going back to the Snyderverse timeline for the DCEU. Basically, these films they're releasing that they've made will be within the Snyderverse timeline, no multiverse strategy. I kind of suspect now, after hearing this news, that the DCEU will be done after Blue Beetle, or maybe Blue Beetle is the beginning of a new franchise. But maybe it is, maybe it's not. But could this mean, with this first look picture deal, and it shows you how important Matt Reeves is to the future of DC live action, could everything now be funneled through Matt Reeves, the Batman universe? It looks like that's where we're headed. But what does this say about the Joker universe, a separate franchise? Well, I feel that the Joker thing is very, very different, and they can let it grow and no one can get confused because it's not typical comic book fare, if you like. I am starting to think now, I mean, this first look picture and TV deal is huge. You don't give this to anyone. You heard Adby and DeLuca. He can do whatever he wants. He can go in any direction he wants. So to me, this looks like Matt Reeves could be leading the DC live action universe via the Batman universe. It's exciting because Matt Reeves is a very exciting figure. Now, what does this say about the Snyderverse? Because in my other video, I said there's just as much chance of the Snyderverse being restored as not being restored. Listen, I think this first look picture deal puts more doubt about the Snyderverse being restored. It kind of tells me that Matt Reeves is going to be having a big responsibility within DC live action. And don't forget, the animated series is still happening, right? Let's get that clear. So he's behind a lot of stuff now. So the Batman universe could be the main universe. And I think, from what I'm gathering now, even though the Snyderverse timeline is the main timeline in the DCEU here on in, I don't think the DCEU is going to carry on after Blue Beetle. And unless Blue Beetle isn't a DCEU film, as I said earlier, maybe that could be part of the Batman universe. We don't know what they're planning. But for me, when you give someone a first picture deal and that person has already done a very successful, DC first picture, it would make sense if you are just about developing a DC Studios that this guy may be leading out the brand new DC cinematic universe. And that's very, very interesting because that's not very MCU, is it? But when he compared to what they were planning to the MCU, he wasn't talking about tone. He was talking about having a plan, having a 10-year plan, having an arc. And that's very interesting for me because Matt Reeves is a very talented guy. Now, I've said the first Batman film didn't have a lot of action, but that doesn't make it a bad movie. And I think this is interesting. And as I say, I think this changes everything, everyone. This first picture and TV deal does change everything. It shows the faith that David Zaslav has in this creative. So that's very interesting. I was saying in my other video, if you've seen it, congratulations. I'm confused because I'm uploading one and I'm recording another, so it's very confusing. But I did say his connection to J.J. Abrams could hurt him because Zaslav has lots of issues with Abrams. Abrams and Reeves they've known each other since they were 13 years old. But he has faith in Matt Reeves. We are going forward. The Batman 2, definitely happening. The Penguin, definitely happening. So this is a thing. So I'm going to change, because as I say, I think this news changes things. And I'm going to say that the DCEU will end either after the Flash movie or Blue Beetle, if Blue Beetle isn't the new beginning for a new DC live-action universe, or part of Matt Reeves' The Batman universe. We simply don't know at this moment in time. Blue Beetle is part of the DCEU. That could be the last ever DCEU movie ever made. And then maybe they'll focus on Matt Reeves' DC cinematic universe. What do you think of these developments? Are you happy Matt Reeves has got this first picture and TV first look deal? Are you disappointed the Batman sequel's happening and we're going all in with Matt Reeves and his DC, the Batman cinematic universe and HBO Max universe? Let me know in the comments below. This has been Movies TV Man. I'm Nick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again for my next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.